Episode 8. Crazy's House. Part C. In a moment, the four of them were lined up, hanging from the swing set bar. "Ready," shouted Lazy. "Go." Hazy couldn't even get one. Fuck this. He dropped to the ground, giggling to himself. Crazy managed a good 6, then struggled. Never made it to 7. It was Lazy and Gia now. They were both up to 20. Gia was impressed. For a guy who hated to work, he seemed to be in very good shape. But at about 23, he began breathing heavily. Oh, Gia said, still going strong. She slowed down for him. "Shut up," Lazy said, making it to 24. He struggled to 25, then his hands slipped from the bar, and he dropped to the ground. Gia paused, looked down, and smiled at Lazy, then kept going. After 5 more, the 3 men clapped. "Oh, she could probably do 100 more, Crazy said. "She's all arms, doesn't weigh anything." Typical guy, rationalizing his incompetence and diminishing the female's competence all at once. Nonetheless, Crazy had spoiled the fact that she planned on doing 100 more. Knowing she'd already won this round, Gia dropped, facing her already exhausted competitors. "What's next?" Crazy walked them over to the flagpole. "Let's give this a shot," he said to them. "Whoever goes up the fastest wins." "I'm not sure if I'm sober enough to do this," Lazy grumbled. "And I'm not sure if I'm drunk enough," Hazy said. "I'm down," Gia chirped. "All right," Lazy said in a phony Cockney accent. "Let's fucking go." Lazy busted out the timer his phone. "I'll be the official timer for the Toymbian." The other 2 men lumbered up. "Who's first?" asked Crazy. "Ladies first, blokes," Lazy announced, pointing at Gia. One thing the last 6 months had taught Gia, it's that a man automatically thinks he is stronger than every woman in the room. Generally speaking, men have an upper body strength advantage. But this notion of a man being stronger than every woman he encounters is bred into him from an early age. So when presented with a test of strength with a woman, a man's lifetime of programming has set him up for certain arrogance. A cockshirty, as it were. As soon as she got up to the pole, she was ready for some kind of pole dancer joke. Surprisingly, none came. What came were little snickers that gave away what they were thinking. She jumped up on the pole and began climbing. But she only used her arms. The rest of her body barely touched the flagpole. Her legs, completely relaxed, swung like lazy pendulums beneath her. She got up to the top fairly quickly. She looked at Lazy. 30 seconds. Lazy said, breaking temporarily from his fake Cockney. Gia nodded, then she came back down the same way, only using her arms. She went a lot slower than she could, maintaining the illusion of being intoxicated and affected by whatever their drug was supposed to do to her. Bottom line, if the boys were expecting a pole dance, she certainly gave them the most unerotic one they'd ever seen. There was no snickering when she hit the ground. Hazy drained his red Solo cup, crushed it. "All right, let's get this over with," and walked straight up to the pole. He pulled himself up on it, wrapping his legs round it as well. He struggled to shimmy up even once. Face turning red, Hazy barely got 6 inches further up, then suddenly dropped off, hitting the ground with a thud, tumbling ass overhead. "Ow shit. That was my coccyx, man." "Alright," Lazy continued. "Take a knee, you feeble excuse for a bloke." Lazy and Crazy exchanged a glance. Lazy gestured at the pole. Crazy went up to the pole. "Don't worry, kids, there is a Santa Claus, and his name is me. No girl's gonna show us up." With that, Crazy licked each of his palms, then jumped at the pole theatrically, wrapping himself around it like a spider monkey. "Ouch," he cried. "My fucking balls." "Now," Gia snickered. "Watch them crown jewels, matey," Lazy advised. "Fuck it," Crazy shouted. Fueled by the pain, he began shimmying up the pole at very fast pace. "There you go, you lunatic," Lazy cheered. At first it looked like Crazy was going to beat Gia's time. Then halfway up the pole, he began to tire out. A few more feet and he had to stop. He was about 20 feet, only 10 more to go. "Oh God," he cried, trying to pull himself a little further. Damn. He stopped completely. He tried to shimmy a little further, but instead, unable to continue the battle against gravity, began sliding back down, skin squealing on metal. Hazy said, A strong start, my fine friend, Lazy spewed. They'll be writing songs about your valiant effort. Crazy reluctantly landed on the ground. Fuck valiant effort, he spit. I lost. He walked past Jia without looking at her. All right, gents, Lazy said in his normal voice. Guess it's up to me. To Hazy, he presented his phone, which was acting as the official timekeeper. Here, do the honors, won't you? Just press that start button. I know how stopwatch apps work, bro, Hazy retorted, but thanks for the tutorial. He ambled up to the pole and winked at Jia. Hey Jia, what are you gonna do for us if I beat your time? Jia gave him a quizzical look. Huh. I win one for the boys, Lazy continued. Hence the boys win. So, what are you gonna do for us? Jia instinctively checked the two other representatives of the Y Chromos. Crazy and Hazy looked like they just saw her naked. I will do whatever you men want, Jia cooed. But tell you what, if you don't beat my time and I win, you have to do whatever I want. The three of them hooped and hollered at this, having no idea what they were in for. Jia could already see that Lazy, as good a shape that he was in, was beginning to wobble a little. All their drugs were starting to kick in. Lazy grabbed the pole and gave Jia a wink. It's your funeral, he muttered, then began to climb. Jia looked at Hazy. Taking the cue, Hazy took his phone out. I'll film this one. His ascent was quick, at first. He made 4 pulls upward right away, to Hazy and Crazy's cheers, then paused. Hazy, come on, bro. Crazy, you can do it. Then Lazy put his head over his left shoulder and proceeded to let out a huge barf. It fell fast and splattered on the ground in front of Hazy and Crazy, who both stumbled backward. Crazy almost fell on his ass. Hazy did fall on his ass and started laughing. Lazy's contrite voice came from on high. Sorry, guys. Oops. He cleared his throat. Let's go, man. You still got this. Crazy said. No, he doesn't, Hazy said. Even if he makes it, Tabby made the fastest time. Lazy made a noise and summarily let go of the pole, falling 12 feet ass first into the pile of vomit he just created. Fucking shite. Lazy barked in his fake Cockney accent for some reason. He was so drunk he landed like a rag doll, evading any injury. As Lazy jumped up and began slapping the fresh puke from his pants, Crazy and Hazy doubled over in laughter. Jia smiled. Things were about to go in a way they could not have seen coming. She let them have their little time in Eden. All right, maggots, Jia shouted. Time for me to collect. At first the men were only too happy to comply. Their brains were probably churning out some hardcore male fantasies as she ordered them stand in a line. Technically, they were barely standing. Wobbling was more like it. Jia's assessment was they were completely wasted. First, I would like to give you guys a chance to do a rematch, she announced. I'll tweak the rules out of consideration that we're all half in the bag. This was a lie. Jia wasn't even mildly buzzed. She just made sure to slur her speech here and there to maintain the illusion. What do you say? Win back your pride and get your chance to, make me your slave. The looks on their faces betrayed that they liked where this was going. Jia liked where it was going too. This was going to be a very fun night. Take a step forward for a little rematch, Jia continued. Let's start with the pull-ups on the swing set. Going once, going twice. She would have guessed Lazy would be the first to bite. Imagine her surprise when Hazy took the first step forward. Well, it was more of a stumble and he nearly fell over, but he regained balance and nodded at Jia. That stoner smile seemed to be glued to his face. Okay, Tabby, I'll bite. The others laughed again. Get all the laughs out now, Jia thought. Suddenly, Crazy stopped laughing and shouted, Wait. When all eyes were on his, he glared at Jia. How do we know you're not going to cheat? Bust out your phone, Jia said to Crazy, in case we need an instant replay. Crazy gave Jia a skeptical nod, then pulled out his phone. He had to close one eye to find the camera app. Whatever drugs they had intended for Jia, they were potent. Recording, Crazy said. So far Lazy was surprisingly quiet. All right, Jia said to Hazy, leading him over to the swing set between the swings, a little pull-up rematch. She faced him. What's the catch? Hazy asked. The catch is I have to do 10 pull-ups with my legs wrapped around you, Jia said. Hazy's smile faltered a little. Don't get too excited, Gia continued. Turn around. Hazy was a little nervous now. You want to do this or not? Gia urged. Against his better judgment, Hazy turned around, his back now to Gia. Okay, Gia said, then jumped up, grabbing the swing set's top bar between the swings. She hung there for a moment, dangling behind Hazy. Don't move now. Ready? Hazy shrugged. Then, without warning, Gia wrapped her legs around his back, locking her heels around at his midriff. Hey, he shouted. Gia squeezed tight. Ow, man, that hurts. Lazy and Crazy both laughed. Hazy tried to free himself, but Gia's legs were like a big steel clamp. Try not to fight, you'll only hurt yourself more. Then, Gia dug her heels into Hazy's stomach, forcing him to double over. He fell forward, and his feet came off the ground now. Lazy and Crazy watched in stoned amazement as Gia basically carried Hazy's body horizontally in her legs. That was just the beginning, though. Lazy and Crazy's eyes widened ever more as Gia began pulling herself up. Oh yeah, she grunted when her chin cleared to bar. Piece of cake. What the fuck are you doing? Hazy yelled. 10 pull-ups. Gia announced, then slowly dropped back down. That was 1. Gia said to Lazy and Crazy. Don't have to check the instant replay for that. Lazy and Crazy just stood there, dumbfounded. The veins on Gia's arms began to explode to the surface of her skin, demanding attention. Hey, come on, Tabby, Hazy shouted. I mean, Gia. You're too tight. That's what. He said. Gia quipped as she went for the second pull-up. She came back a little quicker, went up for 3. Please, Hazy cried. I don't want to drop you, Gia said, eyes focused and calm, bulging arms in constant motion. She was in the zone. 4, 5, 6, 7. Hazy's face was beet red now. I think you broke a rib. Now Lazy and Crazy started laughing. Oh, come on, man. Lazy shot out. Don't be such a baby. 8, 9, 10. Gia let Hazy go and he fell face first on the dirt. She let go of the bar and landed on his back. Oof, Hazy said. Gia stepped off his back and clapped her hands back and forth. The universal mission accomplished gesture. Okay, Crazy said, looking Gia over. That was kind of phenomenal. It was clear he was turned on. Who's next? Gia said, bright-eyed. The men drunkenly shuffled a moment. No takers? Come on. The poll is up for a rematch. Fuck it, Crazy laughed. I'll let you put your legs around me. Lazy giggled a little, shaking his head. It's not as pleasant as it looks. Hazy slurred, still face down on the ground. Foreshadowing? Nah. Crazy was all in. He walked back over to the pole. All right, Tabby, what do you got for me? Back against the pole and sink so that your butt's touching the ground, Gia said with a delicious grin. Oh, you want me to get low, hey? Crazy slurred. He unsteadily put his back to the flagpole as instructed and slid down the pole until he was crouched completely down. The process took forever because he almost tipped over a bunch of times. He was hammered. Gia looked at Lazy. Taking the cue, Lazy took his phone out. I'll film this one.